What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum. I hope everybody's doing well. I've got something special for you today. I guess you could call it a bit of a guest video here. And some of you have already listened to episode 132, which featured a collector and a graphic designer named Nick. He also runs this Instagram account that you can see here in the background called Basketbawlers, Bawlers. We talked about that account on the episode. We also talked about something cool he created called a typeset binder. And after we were done talking about that binder, I messaged him and I said, you know what, it'd be really cool if we could get a video of what that looked like. And sure enough, he sent that over to me pretty soon after I said that. And he also gave me permission to share it with you on my YouTube here. So thanks again to Nick for that. And I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to give Nick a follow on Instagram. Once again, the handle is at basketballers.
So here is my basketball card typeset that I've been working on during the pandemic. And what I mean by a typeset is that it includes one representational card from each different set that has been produced over the years. And of course I had to set certain boundaries so it doesn't include, for instance, team specific sets or anything like that. But you'll see that it covers a lot of ground. So I use this 6x8 binder, and it goes chronologically. So in the very beginning, well, actually on the flap, I even included one of the Murad felts, which I really loved, but it's not technically a card, so I just sort of mounted it on the cardboard here. And I also included a vintage postcard from 1907, technically the first card. And then you'll see the very first official basketball card was the 1910 Murad cigarette card. And for each of the cards in this binder, I've added a little blurb that gives some historical context to the specific set. I've got the Gaudy Sports Kings, one of my favorites. I also included some international cards. This one's from Germany, from the controversial Olympics that happened in the 30s. And a netball card, which was an early competitor to basketball without a backboard. And here I start splitting the pages into a few cards. So I've got the smallest card in the binder, the 1948 Topps Magic photo, which is the card that emerges when exposed to sunlight. And of course, the very first pure basketball card set ever produced, 1948 Bowman, around the beginning of the NBA forming. Some other great cards in the 1950s. I like some of these really obscure ones, and they're surprisingly affordable as well. And you'll also see that when cards have information on the back, I cut a little window, and the window is always just slightly smaller than the card itself. And this allows you to read the information on the back while also having something to mount the card to itself. Here I flipped the orientation, so I got some of the earliest top sets. I've got a card representing the Cons Wieners set. Early Fleer card in here. Really love some of these weird cards from the 60s as well. This is a Gad Fun card, which has a little basketball joke on it. So as you see, I included multi-sport card sets in here as well, as long as they had at least one basketball card that was featured in the set. Here's probably one of the ugliest cards I've ever seen. It's the 1971 Keds Ked cards, where they sort of drew these haphazard illustrations of players that were considered endorsements, but probably weren't very official. And here, of course, is my favorite era, the 1970s, where you have the beautiful 1971-72 top sets. So cool, love the typography and colors in these. The 1974 set's amazing too. This is one of my favorite particular cards, featuring Wilt when he signed as a player coach. He never actually ended up being a player on the Conquistadors, but he did make a few appearances on their bench as a coach. And these lose a little bit of character later in the 70s, unfortunately. One of the exceptions I made to collecting team-specific cards was for the Harlem Globetrotters. So here are 2 Globetrotters cards, including the famous 1971 Fleer set that was produced. Another one of my absolute favorite cards is the 1972 Icy Bear set. I love how edgy this design is of this Wes Unseld card. It kind of feels like an album cover. Getting into the Nabisco Sugar Daddies. And this is one of my favorite cards. One of the coolest players of all time, Dr. J, the 1976 set. Here's the largest card in the binder, the 1977 Sportscaster set. And these pages are 6 by 8 inches each. So I sort of set that boundary because to me, anything beyond that size doesn't really count as a card. It's more of a poster, in my personal opinion. Here are some disc sets that were made, and I know these aren't technically cards, but they're sort of card-like enough. I love the funky designs on some of these. And I also included, this is also breaking from the traditional cards, but while we're at it, on the circular shapes, I included the Mattel Instant Replay disc of Pistol Pete Maravich in here. It's like a tiny record. The RC Cola card. Then we get into the 1980s with the Topps Trios. Some historic Olympic sets. Smithsonian Sports Champs. Get this weird Kurt Rambis card from this trading card game that was made from JMS. Then of course you get into the star sets, which you know, maybe picked up a little bit of notoriety recently. I included only one reprint card in the entire set, which was the Jordan rookie card seen here, because I couldn't afford that for my life. But I also wanted to point out that these were so commonly reproduced as knockoffs. This is the first set that I actually included a subset as well, just because it's the famous 86 Fleer set. Patrick Ewing card featured. And I didn't focus too much on international cards, but this is one of my favorites that includes the both misspelled Patrick Ewing and the wrong player featured, because that's Byron Scott. Then getting later into the 80s, the 87 and 88 Fleer sets, got a Karl Malone in there. And at this point, you're seeing multiple releases from big card manufacturers in any given year. So that's why I actually decided to end my typeset binder in 1989, because by the 90s, there's just too many to count. This is a weird one. It includes non-basketball players playing in a promotional game for Foot Locker. So this is actually a volleyball player. Of course, the SI for kids cards. There's Steph Curry's dad and one of the Kenner starting lineup cards. And then you'll see at the very end, I've also included printed stickers of some of the cards that I couldn't afford or couldn't find for the binder. So that's, for instance, the 1923 Winchester set, way out of my price range. There's very few available. Same with the C.A. Briggs cards. But this is a way to sort of get a sense of what the cards look and feel like without actually having to shell out tens of thousands of dollars to buy them. So these are some of the ones that are still on my wish list. Actually, I was able to pick up a United Press International card of Wilt Chamberlain just the other day, so now that one's included. And ComSpec is still on my radar if I can find one for a reasonable price. And here's the last page, of course, with the Jordan Nike rookie. And not a single card in this binder I paid over $50 for. And I think that just shows that you can do a lot on a budget as a collector. So thanks for letting me share.